You see?
Yep.
Are you all ready today? Have you got all the emotes and things ready?
I've got all the emotes. I've got everything. I should have everything. I'm not gonna put myself on the line right now.
Cool. Well, you mentioned a little bit earlier Project Olympus. We'll go straight into that first of all. Project Olympus we've been updating throughout the last couple of patches, and this one has got some new ones coming to it as well. This one is going to have Vivox, or Vivox, is it?
Vivox.
I got it right the first time. Vivox, integrated voice chat.
Yeah,
yes.
This is a big one that people have wanted. It was teased earlier this year. It's finally coming to SMITE. Pretty exciting.
Now, with this voice chat, though, so you guys home as well know, just to confirm when we pump on, it's available in custom games and in ranked games and in parties.
Yes, in parties.
Okay.
So if you're in any one of those modes, you'll be able to use Vivox. It'll automatically join everyone together that has it enabled, and then you guys will just be able to talk. You can set like your push talk if you want it voice activated, modify levels. You can mute people that are like maybe they're like just talking static or there's dogs barking in the background you don't want to hear.
You just mute them.
You can mute them individually, so it should be pretty good.
Is there a way to change their voices for fun? Like just lower and higher pitch it, because that's what I'd like.
I mean,
to
you can just do that on your audio settings yourself.
That's a good point. I just want F-Dot if I'm ever great with him, just to sound like a chipmunk. That'd be great fun. That's Vivox anyway. That's going to be in the game. Integrated voice chat for you all. You're all like super excited. We'll see how many of you actually use it though, because you all asked for it, and we'll see how many use it.
Well, it's in game. You don't have to download any separate client.
Whatever.
It should be used.
Whatever. Anyway, on top of that, though, we're also going to be updating the Learn tab glossary.
Yeah, we have a glossary
now. There's a Learn tab?
There's a Learn tab that has updated videos, and now it has a glossary.
And what is this glossary? What's the glossary going to entail?
It has a ton of words that are various like MOBA terms or online gaming terms or things that like. Proxy was a big one. I actually asked on Twitter a few months back for words that people didn't really understand, and proxy was a really big one that people didn't understand like the concept of.
Okay.
So now if you don't know what that is, you can actually just go search it, and you can read what it is, and it'll actually link you to other words that are related to it. So it's a pretty cool feature, especially for anyone who's new to MOBAs or who just doesn't understand a specific term that was recently used.
Okay, cool. So have a look at that Learn tab in the glossary. It should be available as well in the next patch. But that's it for the Project Olympus stuff. We can move on to gameplay changes next.
Yeah.
Gameplay changes for SMITE, sorry, Conquest, I should say, first of all, is the Fire Giant change. We're going to be adjusting the Fire Giant. Will no longer spawn lava pools underneath pets.
Yes. This was a really big thing where pets, especially characters who can spawn multiple pets, if they spawned at like the wrong time, it would actually spawn lava pools under each one, and lava pools just do massive damage. So you could be that hero Bakasura coming in to ult and secure the Fire Giant. Lava pools spawn under all 6 years, and you just wipe your team, and you're like, oh, that was not good. So now pet users don't spawn Fire Giant pools.
So in theory, pet users get a little bit of a buff because of that.
Yeah, so they won't have to be afraid of using that depending on like when they join the fight, when they start fighting the Fire Giant. They can use it to burn the Fire Giant if that's what they want to use like their ultimate or their pet summon for.
Makes sense. And then on top of that, not just a Conquest change, but this one's going to be a Jewel change up next. You guys have been asking for it, and somebody here has listened for sure. Jewel, increase the amount of bans while drafting from 6 to 8. 8 bans. So are all 8 bans going to be at the start of the mode, do we know?
I'm not quite sure.
I'm putting you on the spot with that one, because I just realized
I believe they're all at the start.
Okay.
And then the big thing here is we just want to give players the tools they needed to like ban out picks that they didn't want to play with. If they wanted to strategize a certain god and there was counters, they can now have more opportunity to counter that. Just a big request that people had.
There you go, 6 to 8 bans. 2 additional bans for you guys in Jewel. Next up is Miscellaneous changes, and this is just going to be fantasy point tipping. We've removed the sound effect for when the tipping window was about to end. So instead of having that countdown timer to death, which makes you sound like you're missing a queue, it's not going to be there.
I remember we implemented it, and some people came into the office, and they were like, oh my gosh, I thought I was missing a queue, so I ran back straight to my computer, and it was just, oh yeah, tipping's is about to go away. So now it just doesn't make a sound. So that's Miscellaneous, and we'll move on to bug fixes next. Literally bug fixes. Oh, there's quite a few. Yeah. You've been busy, Pon. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff.
Okay.
They're doing things.
Moose and Cobb, first one up. Stinger, updated the description of this ability to correctly state Stinger's range. Oh, that was worded differently than usual. That's exciting. Thank you. Arachne. Web changed how web functions in regards to slow immunity. Players who are slow immune will still leave behind web trails on the ground behind them. The keyword pet has been added to the description to convey Broodling's classification. Yeah, so the first one is just kind of a nice update to Arachne. Now someone like cleanses off the slow, especially with like sprint. Yeah, so if like Heavenly Wings gets popped, it will no longer make it so the web doesn't appear. This also has some interesting effects with other CC immune things. We'll see how it goes, but this will be... It's a bug fix as well as like a nice quality of life update to Arachne. And then the pet version is just to try and put that in place? Yeah, so
we went through all the pet gods in the game and added the pet classification either in the ability type or in the description.
Cool.
Because we actually had a recent blog post on this where pets and decoys function differently and have very different rule sets. We want to make sure that's explicitly clear when you have the ability and you're reading the text so you know how it's supposed to function.
Ganesha, next up, Good Fortune will now display the amount of kills granted to his allies. That's kind of cool.
So now you can just see how effective he's been doing at giving kills to his team.
So then you can find out at the end if you were... Can you see
be able to see it at the end.
It's just a personal player that can see
Yeah,
that.
so they can see,
Gotcha.
they can at the end, if someone's like, oh man, 0-11, they can fire back, well, I actually got 6.
Gotcha. I killed 6 of these people. We'll find out how that works out for those players. Cousin Bo, the Nene Kappa, the keyword pet, has been added to the description to better convey his Nene Kappa's classification.
Yep.
Just like the spiders. And Decoy for Loki, the keyword pet has been added to the description to better convey his Decoy's classification.
Yep.
Then Raiju, the keyword pet. No, I'm joking.
No,
Raiju's
not a pet.
Raiju's not a pet. Don't be silly. For Raiju fixed an issue where early ranks of this ability were not slowing enemies properly.
Yep.
Okay.
So a bug fix that'll also make him a bit better.
And Sun Wukong, finally. Can you guess what this is going to say, boys and girls? It's to do with the Somersault Cloud. You guessed it. The keyword pet has been added to the description to better convey his decoy's classification. And that's it for bug fixes.
Yeah. Got some good stuff in there.
Now it's on to items.
Yes, there's a lot of items to go over, and there's a pretty good amount of god changes to go over too.
Okay, start at the top. Sundering Spear. You guys at home have been talking about a little bit, at least from what I've been seeing. And we're going to actually be giving it a little bit of a buff this patch, not too crazy, I hope. Decreased cooldown from Sundering Spear from 160 seconds to 140, and the same can be said for the upgraded version of Sundering Spear. That's also going to be coming down from 160 seconds to 142. Pom Pom, why are we doing this?
So we reworked it recently, so it was a lot less frustrating. It's more of the initiator tool that it was kind of meant to be used as instead of the finisher tool. But that also limited its use cases. In 160 seconds, it felt really punishing to use that and have no relic usage for another 160 seconds.
Sure.
Especially because it was like only single target affecting, and you had skill shot, and you had to act on it. So we're reducing the cooldown to 140 so that when you pick it up, you get to use this effect more often, so it feels more impactful.
Makes some sense. Next on the list is Heavenly Wings. Decreased movement speed buff from 40% to 30%. And this can be said for the Heavenly Wings upgrade, which is going to go from 40% to 30% as well. So 10% reduction on this.
Yeah, so I probably should have mentioned this on Sundering Spear, but all the relics that we're hitting today are very minor adjustments to kind of bring them a bit more into line.
Okay.
Overall, I think we're pretty happy with how relics are right now. We're seeing a pretty good variety. Horrific emblems being picked up. Some people are messing around with Girdle. There's a lot of kind of like team strategy that you can pick off your relics, but there were a few that were a bit too dominant, so we're toning them down a little bit. They're still going to be very useful. They're still going to be utilized, but we just want to bring their power level down so that all the other ones still feel like they're very useful. You don't feel like you're obligated to pick at least one or two of these.
Some minor tweaks.
Yeah, some minor tweaks. So Heavenly Wings will still boost your team. You can still engage and disengage really effectively with it, but the enemy team will have a bit more opportunity to act on it.
Okay, that's Heavenly Wings, and then next up is Magic Shell. You guys have been talking about that one at home too. It's going to take a small nerf this patch. We're going to decrease the health shield shield scaling per level, from 15 to 12. It was 15 per level you got from this. It could be 12, but we've also increased the cooldown from 140 seconds to 150 seconds, and the same can be said for the Magic Shell upgrade. Exactly the same change, 15 to 12 in terms of shield per level, and increase the cooldown from 140 to 150 seconds. So just a minor tweak to reduce the effectiveness and how often it's up.
Yeah, we've seen some teams value only one of them. We've seen some value 2. Some teams have even gone a little bit more extreme on that. But we've seen it mostly stabilize around 1 and 2.
Sure.
And so we just want to tone down the overall effectiveness of it. If you want to stack it, that'll also be weaker by, I think, 120 total health. So this is just to bring it down a little bit so that it's not so dominant of a relic.
Okay. That's a little look at the relics, at least for now, because next up on the list is Shaman's Ring. Now, we did see that AJ was talking about, he mentioned Shaman's Ring and Telekine's getting looked at this patch as well. This one, for me, feels a little bit more of an adjustment than a really big buff on the Shaman's Ring.
Yeah, it's an adjustment to also kind of fix its consistency issues.
But it will make it better.
But it will make it better. It'll make it, in the situations where you'd want to pick it up, it'll make it more useful, and it'll be easier to fit into mage builds.
So here's a little look then at Shaman's Ring. We're going to increase the cost, first of all. That's not a buff. From 2,200 to 2,300. But we're also increasing the magical power from 60 to 80. That's a buff.
100 gold for 20 power is pretty good.
Makes sense. But not only that, we've also changed that the Evolved Shaman's Ring passive now only applies from damaging abilities, not just CC.
So there were
soft abilities.
Yeah, there were a few abilities that were proccing this in kind of an unintended way that made them way better than other picks. We wanted to normalize that a bit so that the power you expected from Shaman Ring was a bit more consistent.
Okay.
But the big thing here is the power increase. The power increase is going to help it be a lot more utilized in builds, especially because that power will directly translate when you get the 10% damage increase as well.
Sure.
So the extra 20 power when it's combined with the scaling, and then the bonus 10% damage makes it a bit better. So overall, it's definitely an adjustment. It definitely changes kind of what characters it's useful on, but for the characters it is good on, it should fit into a build more regularly.
And the next one on the list is Telkine's Ring. This is going to come down in cost from 2,700 gold to 2,400 gold. And Telkine's Ring should now stack its passive from damage over time, so dot effects in the game. Updated the description to clarify this effect only stacks on damage dealt to enemy gods. So dots now impact this. Ooh.
Yes, so not only is it cheaper so you can build it more regularly, but there's a lot more characters now open to this item where they can quickly wrap up the power by like maybe dotting something like Jean-Qui's card. Maybe he wants movement speed and power.
I could suggest which one do you expect. So Jean-Qui's a good example?
I think Jean-Qui's an interesting example because his burst combo, right? Like he cards you, lets it tick 3 times, and then just choose you, and he's going to hurt you really, really badly.
Okay.
And then he'll have that power for his ultimate as well. So it just opens up the characters that this can be useful on.
So 300 gold reduction and a couple of changes there with dots and such. We'll see how that works out for Telkines. And the last item to get changed this patch is going to be Dynasty Plate Helm. Small adjustment to an extent, increased physical protection from 25 to 35. I'm a liar. That's not a small adjustment. That's a big 10 physical power protections.
So these bridge items are kind of meant to be these really cheap, powerful items that then have late game implications that you've bought it. It's not a full tier 3 item.
Sure.
But Dynasty Plate Helmet, especially when it had the 15 pen on it, was a bit too potent. It provided a lot of synergy stats with all your damage. It was an item that you didn't want to sell, and it was providing as much penetration as a lot of tier 3 options. So we're shifting the kind of focus. We nerfed it. It's now a bit too weak. We're now bringing up its protection, so it can be very clearly this anti-physical item that still gives you pen and still gives you power. Especially like, let's say you're against a Chiron mid and there's a jungler who's harassing you. You can pick up this item, get armor, you'll be a lot more survivable because of it, and then that can help you get into the late game.
See how that works out. That's all the items for this week. But next up, we have some god balance changes, and hopefully you're all home praying right now that your god doesn't get nerfed, or the ones that you hate. Sorry, the ones that you hate get nerfed, and the ones that you love get buffed.
Someone's going to be mad.
You reckon?
I mean, someone's always mad.
Let's find out. We're going to start in A. Artio is the first one on the list, and Artio is getting some buffs. And by buffs, I mean nerfs. Mole Prey, we're going to decrease the magical power scaling from Mole Prey from 35% to 30% per swipe. But not only that, we're going to decrease the base damage from 50 to 170, is now going to be 40 to 160. As well as Life Tap. Life Tap is also going to get changed. We're going to decrease the slow per stack from 20% to 10%. And decrease the self-healing of this ability from 15 to 35 is going to be 10 to 30 per hit.
So her identity as a kind of guardian character is one that can get into the fight and just be this constant presence that is very, very hard to deal with. She can get in, deal a lot of damage, heal herself up, bring a lot of control. But that's kind of like her gimmick. She doesn't have that like same initiating power. She doesn't have that same kind of hard lockdown to go back and peel like a Geb can quickly throw a shield on someone. But this ability to be in the fight and put out so much pressure so consistently was a bit too high. So we're toning down her damage, we're toning down her self-sustain, and we're toning down her utility so that there's more opportunities for enemies to actually get onto her. They can burst her down, they might be able to burst her down. If she's staying in a fight for a long time, she'll be doing less damage overall. And then when she's trying to lock down that single target with Life Tap, it'll be a lot easier to get away.
So we're just trying to like keep her identity, but like just keep tweaking her in different areas until we find out exactly where she should be.
Yep, she's a bit too frustrating in the current kind of role she has. These changes are very targeted to reduce that frustration and make it a bit more manageable. Next
on the list is going to be Kronos. Kronos is going to get a bit of a nerf this patch too. Time Rift, decrease magical power scaling from 85% to 80%, and also accelerate the decrease section 4 basic attack damage buff from 45% to 35%. Now I believe these changes upon these was before we gave ridiculous amounts of love to Kronos, where now you see him in the top flight quite regularly. This is just a turning back into line, really?
Well, we did not do Time Rift. We did do the section 4.
Sorry,
update. And basically, when we removed Fatalis a long time ago, we gave him a whole bunch of buffs to kind of give him this new identity as a mage, bring back tools that he needed to be this basic attacker if you wanted to go that route. Especially with the new passive that he has, and the kind of way the meta shift, especially with the harder to kill towers, section 4 being very good at shredding those towers. We're just looking to tone him back down. He's a bit overperforming right now. And so we're targeting his ability to poke effectively just a hair, by reducing the scaling by 5% on Time Rift. It is a 5-second cooldown, so the amount of times you're pumping that out will matter. And then the ability for him to like turn on that Section 4 and start chunking people for these huge autos and chunking towers and phoenixes for these huge autos.
I mean, 45% was a little bit,
it's a bit much, especially now that he gets the free power as the game goes later and later, and we've seen a lot of games go later and later. So this is just to bring him back down to the line. He has a really good identity now as this kind of mage and hybrid auto attacker, and he can build into either path pretty effectively. So these changes are targeted to bring him a bit more into line.
Okay, next up is Cucullin. It's a small buff to him just for quality of life more than anything else here by the looks of it. Increased healing reduction from 40% to 50%. Basically all the other gods are that way already, Pop.
Yeah, all the other gods that have
the
like the only like 50% anti-heal have 50%. He was at 40%, which is a bit weird. We changed it to 50%. He's mostly a middle of the pack god right now, and so this isn't really meant to like buff him in a severe way or anything. This is only 10% anti-heal. It's just really for the consistency.
Sure, and he is middle of the pack, you said too. I know a lot of people out there like Cucullin's really strong right now, but from what we know, like he's right bang in the middle.
Yes, players have learned to like utilize his early aggression from when he transforms, especially in the laning phase. If they can get that kill, he's pretty good. But if he doesn't get that kill, he does okay. And kind of how players are learning to play around that, he's in a mostly okay spot.
Okay. After Cucullin, it's Khepri. Khepri's getting nerfed again for all you Khepri. No, he's not. He's
getting some love this patch.
Getting some adjustments. We're going to be looking at Scarab's Blessing this patch. Adjusted this ability's timing to allow the target to immediately receive Scarab's Blessings. Players should no longer be interrupted while casting this ability.
Yeah, so it had a 0.1 second cast time, which is very, very small.
Sure.
And
so then you go,
and it's so small that like players can't see that that's coming and interrupt it. Like they'll try and preemptively stun him, but you'd start casting it, you'd see your animation, then you get stunned out of it, and it would just feel bad. So that doesn't happen anymore. If you're going to cast it, you're going to cast it. It won't be interrupted, and it'll appear on the targets a bit quicker.
Okay, that's Khepri, and next on the list is Skadi. Now, Skadi's seen a lot of play just lately, and she's going to be taking a little bit of a nerf this patch on Permafrost, which everyone's been complaining about. Permafrost decreased physical power scaling from 60 to 50% first of all, but not only that, we were decreasing the movement speed bonus on this. It was 40% flat. It's now going to scale as you rank it up from 20 to 40%. So starting 20 all the way up back to where it was.
Yeah, giving yourself a mini sprint, especially early on with a single point, is very effective, and it keeps her alive. It makes it very hard for her to be aggressed on, even though she is a kind of unsafe unsafe hunter. And her ability just to kind of lay down the ice carpet in the middle of a team fight late game and really poke for effective damage and then give her team a way to initiate. She was just a bit overtuned in that regard, so we're toning down her ability to deal damage with Permafrost, and we're also making it so in the early game, unless she invests points into Permafrost, she's going to be a bit less safe.
Okay, we'll see how that goes with Skadi too. And then last but not least on the list this week is going to be Susano. Susano's going to get a little bit of love, and Susano's base stat's going to increase his movement speed from 365 to 370, so a little bit more mobile for Susano, as well as Wind Siphon. We've decreased the cooldown from 18 seconds to 16 seconds. He's been hurting a little bit, Pom.
Yeah, he's been struggling. As a character that reduces frustration factor with changes to his ultimate and then the final change to his passive where his movement speed, he was getting ramping movement speed for abilities on cooldown, which made him very hard to chase. Now without that, he's a lot easier to manage. When he decides to engage, you can actually reliably go on him. It's harder for him to get out of a fight. And so we're bringing back some of the movement speed that was really low because he had that passive, so that he's a bit more mobile just in general, but he's not going to be as mobile as he was when he had that fully stacked passive after he engaged on you. And then we're also giving him additional utility rather than damage by upping Wind Siphon's how often Wind Siphon can be used. It's a pretty strong initiation tool. He'll have it a bit more often, but it's not really a direct hit to his damage. Okay.
What's your favorite thing in the items and all the god balance?
I am curious to see, because Shaman's Ring is this real kind of weird item to me, because like it's like the immediate benefit isn't super obvious, and when you build it, some people think you need to build it early, some people think you build it late because that's when you have the damage. And how people start building that as well as Telkine's Ring into their build, I think it'll shake up mage builds quite a bit. I'm curious to see how that works out.
Well, I'm going to get ready to let you go then, because you've got to go and get ready for the skins to show off all the exciting skins.
I hope I have everything.
You better have it already. While Pod's going to go and do that, though, boys and girls, what I'm going to tell you guys is we're doing the caster show very, very soon. It's going to be airing on Twitch, and it'll be available on multiple platforms for sure. But have a look at one of the contestants on the show. You may recognize him from days gone past. It's Shadow Boy.
Hi, my name is Major Cosby. I am 23 years old, and I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. I just graduated from school, and I did have a job as a manager at Radio Shack, but that actually went out of business, so I just kind of focused on school for the remainder of my senior year. My biggest accomplishment was the very first time that I actually was flown out for a LAN event. It was for Iron Gaming in SMITE back in like 2013, 2014, I guess. I did a lot of practice casting on different things. So I started off, of course, on high-res games, but I did some random stuff. So I would be taking trips to different places. Where I went to school was actually a very isolated area, so when we would take long trips, just as a joke or just as something funny, I would just commentate on them actually driving and just make it sound way more exciting than it is, or maybe way stupider than what it actually was. Just trying to have that on-the-fly casting ability.
As you can see, coming fall for the caster, but now it's back to the desk for some more continuation of the patch notes. It's everyone's favourite section for sure. It's where we bring Chuck, AJ, and Fishman on to look at the skins, and Chuck's to tell us more about details about what went into making these skins.
Oh yeah.
Wait, what was that? I did not understand that sentence.
More details.
More details.
What's the behind the scenes of these skins?
Chuck, you're here for one reason alone, to explain skins. Let's get on with it real quick. Show the card art for me, please, at least. Fire Dancer Jabberwocky will be the first skin we're having a look at today. This guy looks amazing on the card art. I just hope he reflects in game.
Oh, the card art looks
He's
great.
pretty sweet.
In-game is pretty cool, too. This is an idea we've been bouncing around with Jabberwocky for a long time, because the way he spins his weapon is very reminiscent of the Hawaiian kind of fire spinner style. So
is that a tiki torch?
I mean,
no.
Yeah, but
it's a tiki blowgun.
Sure, it makes
buddy.
sense. I get it. I get it. Oh, please. Oh, he's going to spit fire when he fires his poison, isn't he?
We'll see.
Oh, please. That sounds great.
But really, in this summer of SMITE this year, we were trying to reach out our summer kind of genres instead of just doing like beach and pool. We wanted to go a little bit wider, and the tiki theme came up when we really liked how it worked with Opwatch and Jabberwocky.
We've been trying to work really hard at getting the summer skins to be summer themed and yet have a wide variety of stuff that they represent.
Beach bots can only go so far.
Look at that fire.
Those sweet flames.
Flame on, that's for sure.
Seriously.
I really like the branching with the fire.
There's your fire
He
darts.
did fire darts. That's the main thing. He had.
yeah.
I like the application as well. It looks nice and clear that you've been poisoned too.
Yeah.
So set on fire, I guess.
Slowing effects generally have that waist below swirl, so you get this good communication of what's going on.
The ultimate, of course. Kind of tricky to show up what it'll look like for a
Crouch
crouch
down,
ball.
swirl.
Yeah,
you know.
Can't.
Yeah, we need to be in the lane.
Or you need to be an enemy.
Maybe.
But you'll see actually a ring of torches appear around you, and you'll have a very fire, like swirling darkness. It's a very fiery.
Yeah, the darkness has some flamey bits.
There's the torches.
Torches look awesome.
So those
but
will
you
move
can
around
see
with
the torch tiki grass.
It's about to get spicy. I like that
That's a
one.
good voice line.
Well, he does come with a voice pack too, so we should have a nice little listen to that if Pompon's got it ready.
The kind for real. As nuts. I am a tie. You can watch, but you can't touch. You'll burn if you come too close. You can watch, but you can't touch. How do you make a fire dance better? You can't. It's already lit, baby. Want to know a secret? I've always carried a torch for you.
Aww.
Bless.
Okay.
That's for the for my fight to the beach once more with Baywatch, and it's spelled B-A-E.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Baywatch Kukulkan.
So we pretty much every year have two.
Okay.
But we're trying to, you know, find a cool angle, right? So we did 666 SPF Morgan, which was cool.
Instead of pretty much instead of the standard ones that we do of like,
Right.
hey, let's just put on a swimsuit, we're kind of looking for the kind of out there. Hey, how would Kukulkan's berserk form look in a speedo?
Right,
definitely
right. So,
Right.
In
discussion.
that monstrous banana hammock.
so you know, AJ wanted to see more of Kukulkan's abs.
Of course, AJ
so we
would
were
want
like,
to see more of that.
I get
And
a lot
then-
of community feedback that we need more good-looking
AJ
male characters.
So here you
Some
go,
more community.
abs for days. And then, you know, he had a lot of opportunity because we could do the tartan bathing suit,
Oh,
and then we
yeah.
changed the tattoos to freaking dolphins.
I didn't
And
notice the
then
tattoos.
Wait, are
on
they
the
dolphins? I
month-
didn't see
yeah,
that.
they are.
Pom, can we get a close look at those dolphins by
See
chance?
those-
I know you.
Show me those dolphins, Pom.
Show me the dolphins,
And
Pom.
then Kukulkan also has the snake necklace,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So then
So
we
now he's got
converted that
headphones.
into the headphones.
Yeah. I was
Right?
gonna-
And
I
then
was
you
gonna
got
refer
us,
the
yeah.
monster in a Speedo.
And sunglasses.
With shark tattoos? Come on.
The
it's a
dolphins turn into
whim.
sharks. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Boom.
And I like the fact that the shorts become speedos just because of the size of it. And that makes a lot more sense for
right,
this.
he gets big in the
The other thing we need to try and work on is like when he turns back into human form, that it stays speedos then after the first transformation.
So now you want continuity of ripped
yeah,
clothing based on transformations.
I mean, basically, it's like Cucullin basically puts his pants back on again. He's got like multiple pairs of spare pants.
We don't got time.
One
for
of his
shit.
godly powers is one of his godly powers is summoning pants. Maybe.
Some gods summon weapons as they throw them.
So guys, we're
Go on
having this
someone's
meeting
pants.
today to talk about the tech we'll need for Cucullin's pants.
To stay ripped.
We've had meetings that sound more
I'm just saying,
ridiculous
listen,
than that, honestly.
there'll be a thread about it somewhere for sure along the
That's a
area.
great skin idea, but it doesn't support the pants technology.
I actually really liked the combination of his like beach sunglasses over his like slavering monster maw. It was a good moment.
So I like the blue effects when you use the abilities on this. Obviously, that's a paddle that turns blue on his first ability. His second, vent anger, he vents water. Clearly, he's sweating. It's kind of hot on the battleground of the gods sometimes. And then the
Circular splash.
the usual salmon's leap. And the ult.
And we kind of did water on the base, and then it turns into sand on the monster.
And then we can look once again when Pond transforms. We can see speedos once more and see what the abilities look like there too. Come on, Pond. It's not that hard.
Hit him again,
so.
Pon. There you go.
He's got infinite cooldowns and can't rage out.
Sand blast.
Sand, yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Nice.
Sandy charge.
That's a cool idea. So it's sand instead of just water, it's sand.
Kicking it up. It's the friend you don't want to hang out with.
Poach. Oh, you got both beach themes here.
Chuck, your team's getting better. Is it you that's getting better or your team? Like,
Everyone.
wow. That's nice.
Yeah.
So
It should
Leslie,
come
solid
with a
skin.
voice pack too, so here we go.
AJ, this hair in your microphone's driving me crazy. All right, cool.
Yeah, cool.
In the moment between Chuck and AJ.
That was awesome.
I was afraid he was going to inhale it.
I rock. Listen, this is a public beach. There are sharks in these waters. Just saying. I built that beach a sandcastle. Beaches love sandcastles.
That's good.
Wow.
I like that
quality Tina.
Sometimes I wear a shirt on the beach so other guys don't feel insecure.
Oh, that's good too. Yeah, so sometimes we do different voices, but for this one we kind of wanted to really theme it like Cucullin actually went to the beach, just like we did with Morrigan, where we took kind of her personality to the beach.
Celtic
with her,
Beach
so.
Day.
Yeah, the Celtic gods actually went to the beach. They're not alter egos.
Well, Hercules is not going to be the only one with a wrestling skin. The next up on the list is
yeah.
Dropkick Terror. I love the fact the card out shows with like the SMITE belt.
Yeah.
We need one of those belts.
Instead
We
of the
do.
hammer,
Yeah.
you want a
I
world
want a
champion
belt. I want a
belt.
world championship belt. That'd be great.
It was also
That's-
really
that's
fun to
pretty sweet.
watch our team like design a wrestling outfit for Terra. That was pretty fun. Like, oh, what would
she
look
wear?
like? Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
we
the first
had-
thing you need to say is spandex. That's the first thing that needs to be.
Don't
There
you
we go.
worry. Wait for Pond. There you go.
Boom. Terror on the cheeks.
Big guns.
Yeah. That's the main thing. She's looking ready to wrestle, that's for sure.
I imagine right now,
I wanna know how the
if
abilities
chat
look.
could speak, we'd be like overwhelmed by the sound of thick.
I was about to say,
Well, they
probably-
always do
that's
whenever they see
happening right now.
Terra.
Yeah.
The
I mean, she was designed that way, let's be honest.
I thought the
Clearly.
hot pink, hot cyan color combo was pretty dope.
So here we have like a
Oh,
bricks
that's
and
cool.
training site.
That's
The
kind of
old,
cool.
Back alley wrestling ring.
I was wondering what you're going to do with the, the actual walls and the monolith and stuff, but that kind of fits.
Pretty hype, right?
And she gets the spikes with her passive look really great on her. She gets a lot more treatment here.
Yeah. She was like,
New pieces of armor and stuff.
if you're an old school wrestling fan, Legion of Doom style.
Yeah,
is what
exactly.
you're after.
Yeah, I was trying to think what it was,
I didn't
and
peg
I was
you
drawing
for
a
an
blank.
old school
so.
wrestling fan.
Don't worry, I've been
more
around
you
for a
learn.
long time in wrestling.
So here we got the punching bag.
Yeah.
Good. And she can't punch it though, but she can dash through
She
it.
can punch it that way.
That's the main thing. Oh, the sparkles.
Two-hand flying Terra punch.
It's got a little wrestling ring trim.
Now, I
there.
guess.
Oh yeah, ever so slightly.
Oh yeah, I can see that now.
I didn't notice that. That's great.
Okay. Circular ring, and then the ultimate might be a little bit difficult for you don't normally see it on players, but you can see it on how it will look on Terra, I guess.
Oh,
Ice Shrimp
and you
Custom
can't
Recall.
tell really. Oh wow, that's
Oh.
the bricks. You can't really tell when from this view, but when she gets the upgraded Legion of Doom armor, she gets the championship
Some
belt.
fancy ward
Gotcha.
skins here is our.
Yeah,
young
this is
master
the
Paul.
Oh, they're the
ward
ward skins
that
as well.
It
It's gonna
comes in a bundle when you buy the skin, so you can use this ward skin on any god.
So I'll give you guys a heads up as he's actually just showing off the ultimate there. I'm just going to find that information for you real quick. The dropkick bundle, which will have Terra in it, this skin specifically, and the punching back ward, along with the cutesy dropkick avatar and the wrestling bell global emote. Can we see the wrestling bell global emote? Is he showing it already?
No, he's showing that the ultimate.
I know, I'm just excited about that.
Yeah,
Terra power
their SMITE World
feet
Championship.
And there's the global emote, I guess.
3, 2, 1. Terra power.
Okay, that's kind of cool. That's all going to be available in a bundle for 450 gems I've got down here. This is part of the Connor's Cure event coming in 4.17, which we're partnering with WWE and the V Foundation to fight pediatric cancer care. Every purchase of this, $1 will go towards Connor's Cure.
Raising money for charity, as usual.
Always a good thing.
Always a good thing.
One of our favorites.
Voice pack time, Pom-Pom. Let's have a listen.
Woohoo! Woohoo! Rock on! Friggin' girl power! I am the best there will ever be! I'm a 10-time champion. Come at me! Seriously, get out of my league! Hello? 911? Yeah, I'd like to report a robbery. Looks like Tara stole the show! Booyah! I practiced my stunts by elbow smashing my BF and turning him over for the 3 count.
I mean, if that's what you're into.
I like this skin for the simple reason.
I've got the vapors.
The reason I like this skin so much is because Tara's so nice and sweet and motherly most of the time.
That's true.
Yeah. Now she's like, I'm gonna flip you over.
Yeah, she's very boastful. Yeah, she's doing the wrestler. You know, it's a lot of the showmanship. So she
for
really
anyone
takes
out there, reminds me of Death by Snoo Snoo. If you know that line too, that's what it reminds me of.
By Snoosu.
Hey, good times. Next up,
Quite relevant.
Serenity Vamana is the next on the list, and this is the card that was.
One.
I was intrigued by this one, Chuck. What's the idea behind this?
The idea behind this is, wait for it,
Wait for it.
high-tech Vamana.
In a world
Yeah,
where a baby can become 8 times as big.
Also still a baby.
And carry an
Where there
umbrella.
are Hindu robots.
He is a bit of a difficult god to skin. He has a very unique look and a unique weapon, and then he has this giant scaling part to him, which can cause some other constraints in the skin. So we're, trying to think of something that can make him look really cool, make him look a little more intimidating than normal, and the things that work well with his scaling and his weapon. So I think we liked this idea the most once we started working out what the umbrella would do.
Definitely, I like the way that turned out. That's
Yeah, because we were pitching a bunch of skins for him. We're like, but how do we make an umbrella fit with that? How do we make an umbrella fit with that?
Yeah,
and we're like the sci-fi one with like the laser umbrella.
Sure.
Everyone was like, oh.
Yeah, the force field hollow umbrella.
What the hell's
turned
that?
out pretty cool.
Hello?
Oh.
Whoa.
What is going on?
That is not supposed to be in the game yet.
Who is that? Hindu man killed Pon-Pon.
It wasn't intentional.
What are you doing?
Hand check.
I'm
Hindu.
sorry, I thought I was in ranked again, okay?
All right.
I don't even know what
who
was that playing?
That might have been a little sneak peek of something coming up soon.
Well, we
I don't know if that was like one of our interns who's like getting ready to go.
Because we never
but
frame up a sneak peek as a
I
Pon-Pon
hope someone clipped that. So you can see that later.
Do you know what? It would have been better if they didn't use my name on that, because then I'm sat in the camera in the bottom right-hand corner, because clearly it isn't me, because my hands are both here, boys and girls.
I think it was
You've been framed, Hindu.
Whatever it is,
what
it
you
looked
did.
OP. I saw over 6,000 damage, so nerf it before it's released, please, for a change, okay?
Yeah, it probably didn't have any developer hacks used either.
No, probably not.
So you can see the umbrella rang and the rest of the abilities too. I like this. For me, Vamana's always been a tricky one for skins, I feel, and in my head, the only one I ever really think of is Little Mana, and that came out so long ago that this will definitely take over for me already by just looking at it. It looks so much better.
Yeah, and that's still a fun skin, but
It
sometimes
is,
you
it
want
is.
a badass skin
Yeah.
too, and you want to have a little bit of both. So.
Post God, you want to have the choice, right?
Right.
Do you want to be silly? Do you want to be
I think we overspoke
Macho.
then. I think the fans at home might want to hear what he does when he ults, because it sounded like I could hear some.
Well, and having a very different effects, abilities, treatment is fun too, if you play a guy a lot.
He said, I am
I'm
enlightened.
enlightened. Okay. That makes sense.
He's very, chill and zen,
Well,
as his Hindu origins.
that's why Hindu man killed him. That's the way it is. Of course it had to be. Okay, voice pack time then.
Hindu Batman.
Woohoo. You handle things well. That was empowering. I am not about vanity. You must learn to control your anger, or it will control you. You cannot hide the sun, the moon, nor the truth for long. Happiness comes from within. That's why it feels good to break wind. The Zen master told me,
Okay.
do the opposite of what I tell you. So I didn't.
Clever.
Deep thoughts.
I like
with
it.
Robot
Deep
Vamana.
thoughts with Robot Vamana.
I'm
A lot of
afraid I
those are
can't
very
let you
inspired
do
by
that,
actual, I
Dave.
think, Buddhist Zen teachings. Yeah.
Especially the wind breaking. That's
that one's
extreme.
That's the most lore accurate one. We had to put that one in there.
Are you guys ready? Because I'm ready. This is the card that I tweeted about when I went, holy moly, when I saw this, I was excited. So I've not seen it in game either, like any of these skins this week. Barely buzzed Bacchus is next on the list. Is Bacchus as a freaking grizzly bear with a honey pot?
Oh, yeah.
Like, Winnie the Pooh fans out there are excited too, for sure.
Sure, I guess.
I don't know if we all know the story of the skin. It started out as
look
a
at
thing,
the style. Look how good
we kind of took it and made him very
I like him seasoning the hive with more honey from his
This is very cartoony for us as well. Like, this is a different sort of style than we've really done either. I'm trying to think of, like, before. I think this is the first one.
Yeah, and we love how just the way his texture and material look on his skin. And it just looks, and his fur, I mean, looks so cool. I'm really, really happy with how it turned out.
And he's so happy. Like, he's a very jovial bear.
RTO thought she was going to be the only bear in town. It's a different story now.
Not for long.
No. God, Bacchus has got such good skins now, man.
Look at those honey trails, so cool.
Yeah, I love the hit effects there.
So where did this come from? Like, where who came up with this idea of like, hey, let's make him a bear?
Tell us the story, Chuck.
This has been rotating around the community for a while.
That story. This was a community suggestion that we then, because whenever we get one of those, lots of times they're cool, and then we have to do whatever we have to do to make it actually work on the guy. But so we switched up some of those things, like we gave him the honey dipper thing.
Sure.
Your idea, our implementation.
Correct.
He looks great.
Yes.
And what's the ultimate? Of course it's honey everywhere. Was that bees coming out too? Of course it was.
Well, yeah, his drunk.
Oh, his drunk meter is bees. That's cool.
Gets little bees.
Oh, and because this is
or his buff effects too.
Because this is a end of event skin, I think he's got VXG.
Oh yeah, he has a unique emote.
He's got an emote?
See it.
I've not heard about that. Oh God, no! No,
you can run away from the bees.
Yeah, as you're going around the map, so you can run from bees.
Before the game starts, just run around screaming in all caps. Ah, the bees, the bees.
I mean, to be fair, I can just see Pro League players running around the map before the game starts, like as this skin, just with bees following them for fun.
Yeah, it's pretty hilarious.
So. Nice things, guys.
If you want to get honey, sometimes you got to tango with the bees.
I mean, I spend a lot of time running around as Kumbhakarna playing the guitar, so
how can you not?
It's kind of addictive to have
quality
the VXGs.
Yeah, especially the running ones.
Fill time with. Yeah, the running ones are the best.
Can you use clap emote as well? I want to see what the clap looks like in bear form, because I know a lot of people at home like the clap. Oh yeah, that's fine. That'll work. Everyone will be happy with that. At least I know some of the pros will be. They were right to just check up on that one. He's got a voice pack too, I guess?
Sure do.
I mean, he would have to, or he would sound like Bacchus.
Yes, let's go.
Woo-hoo! Woo-hoo! You are the best.
Oh, gosh.
Spectacular! Oh. I do love honey. I do love honey. I'd watch out for the bees if I were you.
The skin needs its own kid show.
If you wanted honey,
yeah, right.
you could have just asked. Why don't bears like fast food? Because they can't catch it.
Bears are slow.
I'm not clumsy. Pandas are clumsy.
Well, shout
clumsy
out to
death as well, yeah.
And you've seen all those gifs of panda bears just like falling around all the time. They're definitely the clumsiest.
That is true.
Bear subspecies.
Still 2 more sets of skins to go.
That's factual.
2 more sets of skins to go. Normally we do it in order of like, ranking, but I messed up this week. So take blame for this. But it's Maharakta Ganesh.
Correct.
God, that's going to be Maharakta Ganesh.
Maharakta.
It's a tier 2 skin, but he looks great. Like, he looks amazing.
Yeah.
So
a lot
of the Hindu gods mythologically have these alternate forms for when some kind of war breaks out, and they're like, Ganesh wouldn't put up with this mess, right?
Yeah.
So
I feel the multiple arms motif in particular, I think, is for like he giveth and he taketh away kind of theming. So it makes sense.
So also, this is the kind of
skulls in a bowl.
Somebody on our team
really likes skulls.
It sure is.
Tries to jam them in as soon as they're appropriate, and they're definitely appropriate here.
Skulls in the helmet too. I see in the headdress.
Mm-hmm.
Chuck.
Like
Chuck's the one who likes the skulls.
Chuck likes skulls.
Maybe.
Just a little bit.
If you couldn't tell by how he dresses.
Just a little bit. This skin looks great. Like that's going to be another one added. I mean, to be
pretty
fair, all
dope.
3, even though Ganesh's standard skin's amazing, the pink one's also good too. His alternate skin, and so
he's got a diverse color scheme on his skins, which is nice.
So yeah, as a tier 2, you're not going to see any effects or voice pack changes, but the model is this much more intimidating kind of alternate warlike version of Ganesh.
Yeah, it turned out really awesome.
You know
Really
what you're going to need to do?
badass.
Here's the issue, right? You're recreating Ganesh in all these different colors, right? Obviously, these are lore-specific, but then you're going to have to make a rainbow skin where he just randomly changes color and just cycles through them all.
Yeah.
Or
A
Ganesh
rainbow
shaped
Ganesh skin.
crayons.
You could also see there in his passive meter, you could see the number below it, which was
Oh, yeah,
added.
good
That's
point.
where it's going to show you how many kills you donated.
Well,
Flash
finally,
up, make
we've
you
also
feel
got RTO Mastery skins to show you guys at home as well. You saw the card art a little bit earlier on.
The
blue bear.
There's a look at it again.
Ganesh.
And we should be able to see it in game. Is the bear blue?
Yes.
Does the bear change color completely?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm excited.
Okay.
I guess he could have been a golden bear,
I mean,
but
to be fair, I don't normally quiz you, Chuck, before we go live with this. So sometimes I'm like, is this going to happen? And you're like, no. And I'm like, I don't want to get too excited about the idea of maybe the bear changing color.
I
every
love
single
this
time.
art where the
that's
reflection of her is the bear. It's kind of
pretty
like
hype.
getting deep.
it's really cool. It's clever.
is
Clever
deep
way
down.
to show a stance switcher that they're not both characters at once.
Well, there she is in her. What do you class that as? You don't class it legendaries. I always forget the name. It's legendary.
It's golden, legendary, diamond.
Golden.
This is
Sorry.
golden.
I always think
Just called it golden.
I'm an
Mastered.
idiot like that. Well, here's a little look at that version. We should be able to see the bear form as well. If the cameraman will switch stance. Press the 4 key, Pon. Good job, Pon. It's blue, and it's still a bear. We'll take a closer look
The
at
blue
that as well,
bear.
with all the golden effects around his headdress too, and the blue around. Now that's the golden version. Obviously, there is the legendary and diamond versions as
really good in
well.
Yeah, he does.
He
I like
does.
it a lot. And you know, we kind of did the recolor very golden bear, so I like that we did more color on the bear for these skins.
Legendary up next. Spawning base, obviously, that's just what happens. Black and
Nice.
gold. I don't know why. I've always preferred the black and gold over everything. We've ever
We
done.
always do. We do like
Always
those. It's just a cool color combination. It really is.
Pom Pom, you're here.
Yeah, I'm here now.
Chuck's gone. Pom Pom. Who's doing the camera then?
black bear.
We have a computer and keyboard here now.
Oh, we do? Okay.
Yeah. It's pretty
Pom
sick.
can do everything all at once.
You're doing this remotely with
was
your
that
power of your
you?
brain.
This
Did you
is a
kill
fearsome
yourself?
bear right
Is
here.
that how that happened?
That does look
No.
great.
And I
That's not
feel
how I
a
did
lot the similar about Fafnir, because Fafnir dragon is like black dragon with gold. I love the black dragon and the black bear. Super badass.
Yeah.
Let's see how diamond
It's
looks.
a dire bear.
It's hard to
That's
type
way scarier than a
telepathically.
real life black bear too.
Telepathic
Yeah, yeah.
typing, Pom. Yeah, it's tricky.
Oh,
Didn't work.
sorry. Pon Pon's replacement is doing their best.
Yeah, you have to. Oh,
No, that's the T screen. We don't need the T screen. Okay.
Go
Got
back,
it.
Pon.
you got to make sure the camera's attached, and then
This
the
is-
switch class should
Yeah,
work.
switch cost doesn't work when the camera's not attached.
There you go.
There we go.
See.
And here's the
Pon
diamond
makes this look
version.
easy. It's actually quite difficult. We've
Yeah.
all tried to do it at
There's a lot of
times.
hidden rules, and there's a lot of hidden ways that you can crash the game.
I really like the
Oh, really?
Yeah, the diamond looks great.
Yeah,
So
diamond
is
looks
it going to
pretty
be
good.
diamond bear
The
or
diamond
teal bear?
The diamond bear looks pretty cool.
Is it diamond bear? Da, da, da.
Okay, it's mostly teal. Mostly teal.
diamond accents.
Teal.
That carries along with the other skins consistently.
Well,
Yeah.
that'll be available
It's got
in the
some
next
serious bear
patch
bling
too.
on its
with-
arms.
Yeah, 'cause I was about to say with the bear,
Oh.
with the bling too. Oh, it's close up on my face
Whoa,
too.
hello, hidden even.
I'm a bear, but not that sort of bear,
Welcome
boys
back.
and girls. I'm
Oh.
sorry.
Should have thrown a wink at him.
I'm also married, so don't say any of that. Before we go on and continue on to the Q&A section towards the end, I'm just going to give you a couple of community updates. First thing first is basically just the one. Cutesy chests are on sale right now. Hopefully we should be able to see what that's in that. The Cutesy earned a free Cutesy avatar chest roll after completing the three first wins of the day. 3 of them?
Yep, weekend event.
3 of them.
Yeah, get your cutesy avatars.
Those are
across
tough to
everyone?
get. You can only get those through special events and stuff. So
They're all so good, those
Now is the
avatars, too.
time.
yeah,
It's tricky.
they're really fun.
I think everybody, when I roll, I'm like, I got that one. But I'm like, well, it's still good, but it wasn't the one I wanted. But everybody's different.
Usually there's one you really want, so
Yeah.
you got to be careful. You got to get it a couple times.
So the last part of this show today is going to be our Q&A with the developers and Pom Pom, who's basically there to
Yeah,
answer questions too.
Basically,
I
they're
mean,
yeah.
Pom does a bit of everything.
I'm
That's it.
here.
Pon's a designer.
Yeah.
He's
I'm
not just
existentially
Come on,
here.
Zach. Don't say he's a
Answer
designer because then
question.
you get all the blame. That's what happens. That's what happens
Yeah.
to you nowadays.
me and Fish would be happy to share some with Pon.
I know.
Although everyone
Welcome
loves him.
We'll take,
so.
we'll take the blame.
Let's have a look
Everyone
at
loves
the
Pon, so.
questions for this week then. Hopefully they should be on screen because I don't have them right now. How does balancing an overtuned god at release work? Do you guys just suggest nerfs or is it based off completely on stats?
The
We actually have a
dartboard, right?
Nerf dartboard.
Yeah,
We'll
right.
just throw at it, and depending on who's playing,
Guys,
we'll
be
get
careful with the
different
joke.
quadrants.
Someone is not going to get that that's a joke. So yeah,
I've
so
seen that dartboard, so I don't think it was just gone.
it's okay. Like we do with all the Q&A, they'll be posted. The text versions will be posted later. So
Right.
if anything we say is confusing, you can go back and read it later.
Awesome.
And,
That's good
and
to
get the recap there. But we wanted to take this question because it really gave us a way to talk about a little bit of balancing in general. But
Sure.
this is going to be focused specifically on brand new gods that come out, which is a little bit different than balancing a god that's been around for a long time. So first of all, how does the balancing of an overtuned god at release work? First of all, we have to identify and confirm that the god is actually overtuned.
And how do we do that?
So sometimes, you know, regardless of the god, sometimes we'll hear a lot from the community. We always listen to the community. Sometimes the community will be very correct when we go check the stats, and sometimes they won't. So we listen, we pay attention to the community feedback, we watch the patch notes, overviews that a lot of the pros and community figures do. We just listen to general comments so we get a general feel for things. Go and check the stats. So we look at the stats specifically in Conquest, starting with win rate, checking that, and then we compare that with a lot of things like damage, healing, which is especially relevant for new gods like RTO. So we're looking at damage, healing, kills death ratio, average death, average kills, gold per minute, a lot of those stats, kind of looking at the whole, try to get the whole picture of the god, really look if the stats are lining up with what we intended them to do.
Okay.
If they're winning a lot, how are they winning a lot? Are they winning a lot from the damage, from the healing? Like what seems in line, what seems out of place?
So it's more like it's kind of a balance between community feedback, pro player feedback, actual stats to see, and then what happens if the stats, I guess, are like the stats say that they're middle of the pack, but community may feel one way and pro feel a completely different way. How do you guys go about that?
Yeah,
I guess
this
it's
is a great question.
And
no, that's very important, and we also want to talk about that too. Sometimes it's not that simple. You know, sometimes there's certain parts of the kit that really feel stronger than they are. And that's when we really rely on the community feedback. We rely on a lot of the people here at the studio and a lot of the pros and a lot of just the community forums and tweets and Reddits that we have to try to focus into what part of the kit either one is just frustrating to play against and is giving you that feeling that they're more impactful than they really are. Or what part is not maybe necessarily meeting our design goals.
Gotcha.
So, for example, like maybe if we wanted a certain guardian to be very protective and not do much damage, and they're doing way too much damage, we can look at which of those abilities is overtuned to damage, scale that back down.
Okay.
So we could talk about RTO a little bit here because this is the most recent newly released god. She was intended very much to be a guardian that stays in the fight.
Right.
We didn't necessarily need her doing a lot of damage though, so that's why we know
the
bear damage came down a little bit, the bear scaling came down a little bit, and her sustain was also a little too strong. So we focused on a little bit of the healing.
Okay.
And the life tap beam was also a little bit of a frustration point. People felt it wasn't really escapable. We really want her to be an up close. This is her only really range thing. Most of her kit is focused around being up close. So if her one range thing is super strong, she then it takes away from her up close in the fray fighting a lot aspects of her kit. So we could, we went through a lot of discussion with the team when the stats aren't really obvious. Sometimes we have to go, we all, and the way the question asked, do you guys just suggest nerfs? And we do a little bit of that, right? But it's more as a team. The whole balance team will be in there, and there'll be a lot of people having, I think this is maybe the issue. Okay, why? And how can we prove that? And then or I think this, or I disagree, or I agree. I think this is the issue, and we go through things like that.
Okay, cool.
And like you're asking, if different elements disagree, we can try to do a shift that incorporates if this thing is being hard to deal with in the pros, then we might adjust that downward. But if casuals are still struggling, then we might give a more all-around buff, like in base stats, something that's going to help all players to compensate.
There's a few more little things I wanted to add. This one, I know it's a bit long.
No, go for it. It's fine. It's fine.
One thing is, brand newly released gods, we don't have any pro play stats. So we have feedback, but we don't have any pro play stats, which is obviously something we take into account very critically when balancing. But for new gods, we don't have that.
And it's very tricky to do because obviously we don't put it in pro play for a while because we've got to wait for it to get into ranked first of all. So we see how it performs in ranked before we look to adjust even further, right?
Right. The other thing is other game modes. Right. So although we do not make changes to gods based on stats in other game modes, we always want to check them and make sure that nothing really crazy is happening.
Sure.
Like we want to make sure that RTO is similar performance level in Conquest and Arena and Joust and things like that. Because although those don't really drive balance decisions, they are popular and a lot of people are playing them. We want to make sure. But I don't think that's happened in a long time that we've had to make a change based on another game.
I think the last one was like Outwash or something with the Ultimate, the old days of the slow.
Yeah,
right?
over 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
A long time ago that we've actually cited another game mode in a balance change, so we don't do that. Yeah. And the last point is that not everything can be proved specifically with stats. Like you can't have a computer just balance the whole game for you. A little bit is us as a team and us as a community kind of deciding what we like about things and what we don't, and what we think works better in Smite and what we think doesn't. So there's always a little bit of an art form, a little bit of subjectivity to this. And we do our best to get feedback from all over the place while we're making these decisions.
Our stats are great at saying, hey, there is an issue here, but they're not conclusive as saying this is where the issue is and this is how to fix it. So that's where we have to put our heads together.
Yeah, it's largely
the balance team and see what.
Yeah, RDO, for example, is a good case of that, where she can be played pretty effectively in solo lane or as a support character.
Yeah.
If you nerf her base damages but keep her scaling up, well, then she's forced a little bit more into the support role where she needs to actually get the magical items and the gold. And so even what change you decide to do has a big impact on like what happens to that character as a whole. So you could just tone down damage because you're toning down damage, but where you tone down damage is also very important.
A big issue too in terms of wave clone and such like that. Oh, that's question 1. Took a little bit longer than
that
usual.
was a good question. Thank you.
Question 2. Why has Hand of the Gods gone untouched for so long? Because it's awful. All the other relics got major reworks, but the one that is still not picked up has been... I don't care. Like I'm sorry. Like I've just seen it.
Can you just want to answer this one?
Here's the issue, right? Games are boring to watch competitively and to play in when everyone's just running around with Hog all day. Okay, we dealt with that for 2.5, 3 seasons. The only thing I miss about it is Golfier and Fire Giant steals from supports because that lost their love. But yeah, tell me more.
You're a bit triggered.
I've always triggered by Hand of the Gods. Like,
neutral perspective
every pro
from
player watching
High-Res
this will follow me up with this and be like, yeah, Hand of the Gods sucks and we don't want it back.
No, you were quite on the point. Really, Hand of the Gods, we've seen it when it's super meta. We've been through this before. In Season 2, it was everyone has to get it and pile on the Fire Giant and Gold Fury. It dictated heavily who was going to get those objectives. In Season 3, we saw it picked back up to really just snowball the early game. And those are 2 states that we never wanted to return to.
Sure.
We wanted specifically, one of our core goals as designers is to make sure that each god is prioritized for their own individual strengths and weaknesses.
Okay.
We want gods that have strong early games to be picked up because of that, and not use some things like Hand of the Gods to completely change that dynamic. We want gods like Kukulkan and Ra to be picked up so they can get those Fire Giant secures as opposed to Hands of the Gods.
Sure.
Hand of the Gods we want to be used as either a fringe strategy, so if a support or jungler wants to pick this up, try to execute a very specific strategy to make maybe a new jungle start, a little bit new pathing to surprise the other team or catch them off guard, or if more casual players who are still learning their junglers want a little bit of an easier way, easier route to speed them up so they don't get punished so hard if they make any mistakes, things like that. And we have actually seen Hand of the Gods picked up in SPL in Season 4 in some of those limited scenarios.
It has snitches, and there have been other items that have been in spots like this before. For a while, Fatalis was in a spot where it had a few situational characters, and it was very casual friendly, but it doesn't have to be competitively viable for it to have a place in our game.
Okay.
So
that's that question answered.
So we're not going to. We like it where it is. The short answer is we like it where it is. We do not want to bring it back to those states.
2 or 3 per team every game. That's not good for the game.
The relic balance is good.
Question 3.
It's good,
please. This text is so small. And
every question I get is like so long.
Lots of changes during this season. What is the reasoning for the big nerfs to healing and growing pool of anti-heal items and relics? Do you have any plans to help the healers like Aphrodite who have been hit too hard by these changes?
So this is a bit of a loaded question, but
it is.
The first part to go off of is no, we don't have too many plans for more healers because they have not been hit too hard. Although the community might feel that way, we've checked the stats consistently. Gods like Aphrodite have been performing well throughout all of Season 4. Healers are still strong.
Sure.
But really, to go into a little history of this, at the end of Season 3, we saw really heavy sustain meta. We saw that Ra and Sylvanas were getting picked up 100% of the time, and they were very hard to counter. So to kind of deal with a healing problem, we just took down the healing on a bunch of gods. And a lot of the gods that we thought were already perceived of as weak, like Aphrodite got buffs at the same time. Which really helped her, actually. Her knockback does a lot more damage now. So those gods have been doing well all season still, a lot of them.
Okay.
And we didn't just lower that healing numbers across the board. We also added some more anti-heals. The anti-heals doesn't address out-of-combat healing, which is why we did kind of both forms. But now healing is also a little less frustrating because players have opponents have a little more control over how much healing is going on during a fight. If they really want to prioritize that anti-heal, they can now. So really, this was a kind of a 2-stage process that made healing overall healthier in Smite. It's still very powerful, and we have to be very careful. Healing specifically, if healing becomes too strong, it becomes pretty much uncounterable, and we've seen that past. And seeing this right now with the resurgence of Hell, which she actually has been putting up crazy strong stats all season, and now people are
keep an eye on her.
Well, I think that's a case for the stats where we see characters actually performing well pretty casually, but then all of a sudden people kind of discover that, and then suddenly it becomes very meta dictating that this character is being picked. Most of the heroes have kind of stats like that. Chang'e came in suddenly.
Yeah, Chang'e was another one that really surprised us. So
Aphrodite had a moment with like the Ataraxia combo where they'd go in. For Titan way back in the day.
Oh yeah,
like
Titan.
They have their niche applications where they get to be used in certain situations, not even just because of their healing strength, just because they're pretty strong characters in general, and we see those stats kind of reflected on the back end.
But short and long of question 3 is healers are currently fine right now. We're not planning on putting more anti-heal items in because I think we're okay as it stands.
Yeah, we feel pretty good about the balance between the two. We'll be continuing to look at items or relics that just aren't really attractive at all, and maybe keep an eye on them. But as far as just buffing healing is not in the plans right now.
Awesome. Conversely, just in case you're worried, we haven't forgotten about healers. Our most recent god has heals, and we have kind of kept this theme of we like healing. Healing's fun, but R2 does a really good job of encouraging in-combat healing, which is a lot less frustrating for the meta. So
it's a good point. That's one of our favorite abilities on RTO is that energy surge as the druid. So it's a true combat heal. You have to hit enemy gods.
You got to hit gods with it.
You have to hit enemy gods to heal.
So.
Great place
Yeah, we feel that that ability is really successful, and we really like that.
Gentlemen, that was a pleasure, as always. Thank you for joining us. That's it for the patch notes for these guys, but we've got a little bit more coming up in a second, so just hold with me. While these guys switch themselves away, we're going to be heading over quickly for me to let you know Hi-Rez Expo tickets are on sale right now. If you've never been to Hi-Rez Expo and you can make it here, please come and do so. You'll have a lot of fun. Get to interact with all the community members you see on a day-to-day basis on the streams, and you get a 25% discount if you buy them early. Early bird discount is going to be perfect over at hirezexpo.com. So get your tickets before they sell out, and then you'll find people on Reddit trying to sell them to you. As I saw on Reddit today, for some reason, I guess somebody, the missus probably, left them or something. That's probably what happened. Anyway, enough from me and enough from the Patch Note Show, but I do have 2 guests joining me right now. I'm going to hand off to Aggro, one of those 2 guests, who's going to be standing by with Cooper to break down Season 5 eSports and what's been looked at and spoken about already, but just to break it down with some Q&A questions with him.
Thank you very much, Hindu. Yeah, I'm Aggro, joined by Hi-Rez Cooper, #1 Tampa Bay Lightning fan in the world, and most importantly, the head of League Ops here at Hi-Rez Studios. And Coop, we already did a big Reddit post about Season 5 and all the really awesome changes that we have, but we just kind of wanted to do the show, break it down a little bit in an easier way to digest. So let's start with the league structure. What are some of the goals that we wanted to do for Season 5?
Yeah, so when we started the SMITE Pro League, we wanted a very strong scene that could sustain itself for many years and have a lot of growth potential for it. One of the problems we saw was that organizations didn't have a lot of security in the league, and players weren't being rewarded as much as they could be for playing in the league. So 2 of the biggest changes that we're making for Season 5 will be that we're going to remove relegations, and we're going to give the top 6 teams in the Pro League from the fall split a spot in Season 5 for the entirety of the year.
So we're going down from 8 teams to 6 teams. So we're going to shrink the SPL down a little bit. In this kind of, by removing relegations, that lends itself towards that stability that organizations were wanting. But what about the players, rewarding the players that are playing?
Yeah, so we're going to require that a minimum $30,000 salary be paid to the players. And on top of that, we also have additional bonus prizing going out throughout the year to the players. So they will be rewarded for playing at the top of their game, but at the bottom level, they'll still be rewarded for playing and dedicating their time to the league.
Stability, not only for the orgs, but for the players as well. Getting that guaranteed salary, such a big deal. And it doesn't affect prizing too much. The top end still going to be rewarded for playing well. So that's the overall league structure. But what about those players? You mentioned we're removing relegation. So how do these Challenger Circuit players make it into the SPL?
So while there's no direct path, it becomes more of a talent development pool where they'll be able to show off their skill on a personal level and maybe one day get picked up by a Pro League team. But that'll be up to them to prove that they'll be able to be good enough to do that.
So Challenger Circuit becomes more of a minor league for the SPL in a way. And in order to gain some sort of traction there, I suppose, and make it so that those players are more easily recognizable, we're doing some things to help there as well.
Yeah, so we're actually going to be mimicking the exact format as the SPL, where it'll be a 6-team league. They'll have double round robins with the best of 3, which will also be in the Pro League as well. We're going to be increasing the prizing by 500% as well from Season 4 to Season 5. So the players will still have a big incentive to play just like the Pro League players.
So more games, not only for the SPL, but for the Challenger Circuit as well. Round robin best of 3, so you're going to be seeing the top teams playing each other more often during the split. And for these Challenger Circuit players, opportunity to be here on Hi-Rez TV, to be casted with our in-house production, the higher quality. they also have a chance to go to LANs.
That's right. So we'll be bringing the top teams from the Challenger circuit to compete at LANs after every single split, and there'll be additional prizing for that as well. The other big note is that even though we're taking away relegations, we didn't want to take away their path to play on the biggest stage of the year. So they'll still have that opportunity to play for a path to SWC 2019. We didn't want that to go away, so they'll still have that opportunity to do that.
So even if you don't want to see your favorite 5 players that play together in the Challenger circuit, they still have a chance to go with those 5. They don't have to break up in order to go to SWC. It's going to be a lot of fun. Speaking of international competitions like SWC, we got some exciting news there as well. Look, NA and EU playing against one another, it's always super fun, but then you factor in OCE, LATAM, Brazil. These teams keep getting better, so we want to give them an opportunity in order to play those NA and EU teams more often.
Yeah, so over the past few seasons, we've seen the international competition get a lot stiffer. They've come in line with the same level of play as Europe and North America, so we want to give them more opportunities. And by doing that, we're going to be increasing the number of LANs that we do after each split, which is a international LAN, and that will have guaranteed spots for OCE, LATAM, Brazil, as well as Asia now, which is super exciting.
That's going to be an awesome, awesome time. And then these formats for these LANs, you know, sometimes these teams travel all this way and then they have one unfortunate performance and then they're gone. We're changing that as well, right?
Yeah, we're going to be introducing formats that encourage a lot more games, and we're going to be seeing a lot more games out of these Pro League teams in international competition for all these LAN events after each split.
So that brings us to SWC. I mean, we're not even at Season 4 SWC, but we're talking about Season 5. We're that excited about it. A little bit of a different look. Not Super Regionals, that's going to go away, but we've got something else exciting planned.
Yeah, Super Regionals is going to go away, but we are going to add Group Stage into the mix. So it's going to be cross-region Group Stage, where we're going to have teams from international regions, all the regions we've been talking about, as well as North America and Europe competing for final spots at SWC 2019.
Look, Cooper, I'm super excited for Season 5. It's going to be an absolute blast. All these changes are very exciting. If anyone has any questions, players, fans, whatever, where can they direct those?
Yeah, you can follow me at HighResCooper on Twitter. Any of the other admin staff will be able to answer these questions, and more details will be posted on esports.smitegame.com if you have any further details that you want to look at there.
Awesome stuff. Can't wait for it, but we got to get through the fall split, and for that, we've got SCL relegations. That's going to be next weekend, and also keep in mind, bringing up SCL, there's going to be more information coming there.
Yeah, we'll have details. We're still fleshing out the final format and everything, but we're going to do a similar post like we did for the SMITE Pro League for the SMITE Console League, so expect that in the coming weeks.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Thanks so much for joining us. From all of us here at HighRes Production, Cooper and his Tampa Bay Lightning hat that he always wears. We'll see you next time.